Today's episode is presented by Lodestar, the fee experts.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Lending Leaders. My name's Elena Gardner, and my guest today is Greg Scher from, he's a managing director at NFM Lending. If you are at all on LinkedIn, you've probably seen his posts. He's very vocal on it, and you're actually, I'm so excited to have you on because we had a Jordan from your team on with us last season. So thank you so much, Greg, for taking the time to speak with me today.
That is Jordan Nutter, better known as A Nutter Home Loan, like Nutter Butter, but A Nutter Home Loan, singular, on TikTok, Instagram, and a bunch of other verticals. And I should say before we get started that I spoke at the Mortgage Bankers Association conference, which is where we met in person. The week of, let's see, what is this week? Because I don't know when you're airing this, but it was the week of
January 22nd. Yeah.
January 22nd. And it was the first time I had ever been confronted by somebody for ignoring their overtures on LinkedIn. You were kind enough to let me know that I had ignored multiple attempts to get a hold of me. So I like the determination. Everyone on this call, everyone viewing this should know that you have a lot of grit and determination.
Well, thank you. It's how I got here, and it's how I continue to plan to grow. So it's definitely a good time.
Having said that, it was not intentional. I did explain. I even showed you a bunch.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you and I are good, right? Like even if I didn't do this,
we're great.
All right. Let's
great.
talk.
Either way.
Fire
awesome. Away. So one thing I really thought that was really interesting is you saw these influencers and you not only said, I want them as part of my team and I want to give them the freedom to do what they're doing so well on social, but you've created a whole team of them. I believe you have 14. How do you manage a team like that provide coaching and mentorship opportunities for them to continue to grow when they sometimes are leaders on their platforms?
Yeah, I don't do all that. I mean, I would say I'm more of like the 10,000 foot visionary. Like I saw the vision. I went after the first influencer, kind of proved that out. Once I saw it working, I went and hired several others, and we continued to try and improve the process. It's very complicated. We can get into what's so complicated about it, but I have somebody with a great background in managing and getting loans through the pipeline and managing people and personalities, and he's on top of it all. And so I don't have to get into the day-to-day stuff. I can continue to kind of stay focused on what value we're driving to our loan officers, our influencers, and our consumers, obviously, and then to others that are watching us. Because I do get a lot of people inquiring about what we're doing, and I want to make sure that we can answer that, clearly and get people as excited as we are on the inside of this.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. And it's important to have members of your team that are dedicated to building up those people so you can have that 10,000 foot view. And I think one thing you've been really boldly proclaiming on LinkedIn is, speaking of people with 10,000 views, is asking for CEOs to speak out more and be more vocal about what the industry needs. What does that look like to you, and what are you kind of hoping to see?
Well, I am really passionate about this. And the
big questions.
No, it's great. No, I mean, it's something that's important to me. And, the passing of David Stevens, who I considered a friend, it just kind of exacerbates this void that was already there. Like if I said to you, name 5 CEOs of IMBs who are very outspoken in terms of advocacy for all of us, I bet it'd be hard for even someone as well-informed as you to name 3. I can't name really any. I mean, there's certain CEOs that are vocal, but oftentimes they're talking about their own accomplishments, what boards that they've been nominated to, how honored they are, or they've just broken ground on a, facility, state-of-the-art facility. I don't hear anyone stepping up and saying, I'm concerned about this industry. Let's all rally together. And that's what we need. And I think I've just amplified that in the wake of Dave's passing. And we need it. We need it, and we need it badly. And so can't wait to see who that person is. I'm not a CEO. I'm a managing director. I'm a partner in NFM. Minority partner. But it's not going to be me. Like it needs to be somebody at one of the monstrosities. I could name them all now, but I'm not gonna do that. But I think
You don't
people
want to call
understand.
them all out.
No, I mean, no, people understand. They understand that there is this cavernous hole. The question is someone going to speak up? We have a lot of old school owners that have owned their companies for a really long time that have made an awful lot of money, that are too busy fighting each other in court now. You know who all the names are.
Yeah.
I'd love for them to repurpose that energy and stop fighting one another. Like we have enough people fighting us right now. Look at all the legislation. Look at all the onerous things that have been pushed our way, and Basel III and all these other things that are coming. So it's time that we just cut the nonsense out and support one another.
Yeah.
And
I think
I'm hoping I'll just keep speaking from the mountaintop and hope that somebody eventually emerges. I just got off the phone with a pretty well-known CEO a little while ago who saw me speak, who said I might want to be that guy. So but it takes a lot of bravery, right? I mean, that's a big commitment to make.
absolutely.
Put the industry on your back and to be an outspoken advocate. But man, it's going to breathe so much life into your accomplishments, even more. I'm speaking to CEOs, even more than the amount of loans you've closed or the records you've broken or the profits you've driven in. Just how liberating would it be to be a real leader of an industry, not just an organization? So there you go. That's my soapbox. Thanks for pointing that out.
We always like to grab things that people are passionate about and talk about them. And you said something there that I want to focus in on, a real leader. What do you think lower level employees, like personally, right? Like I lead a team, you lead a team. What can we do to be that real leader for our teams and to drive our businesses forward?
Well, I mean, it starts by being a servant leader. I think we all know the difference between a top-down leader and a servant leader. Top-down leaders, they're very clear about you being where you are and they being where they are. They call the shots. You're lucky to have a job. Hopefully there are not too many of those people around, but servant leaders, they're all over top-down leaders are all over the place, and they manifest themselves in various ways. To me, a great leader is one that really cares, and it's not just in the words, it's in the actions. And so there's a lot to that. Like, don't just call me when there's a problem. Don't just call me when I'm not hitting my numbers. Don't just call me when my P&L is upside down. Call me for no reason to see how I'm doing. Know a little bit about my family. Show that you care. That's great leadership, right? People like that, you want to fight for, you want to work with, and we all want to feel like people care about us. Like, we spend so much time at work, and by the way, leaders don't make contact every time, but a true leader, when confronted by an oversight, will not be defensive. They will say, you know what, you're right, and then they'll double down on the efforts to show you how much they care. And to me, that's a great leader, just someone that is present, there for you, and it doesn't seem like they have their own motives behind their leadership.
Yeah. And I think especially in the mortgage industry, something I've heard not only and felt not only myself, but had others say is this really becomes your family, right? The people you see at trade shows, whatever companies they go to, as they move around, you end up spending so much time with people, right? And I think that's so important to say that, you need people that care about you, whether they're in your organization or not. And to shift a little bit here, something you spoke about at IMB, going back to conferences, is you spoke about your pipeline and what that looks like. And I think something that a couple people like reference, but I know we were cut for time, is kind of what does the pull through of that look like and how do you manage that, right? Because I'm sure you're dealing with a lot of unqualified applicants, right? That maybe are just like, I think I might be able to afford to buy a house, but they're not informed enough to know whether or not they can. And do you have pipelines for, let's say, 25, 26 of loans you think might close based on your engagement now?
Sure, of course. Yeah. I think before I go into that, I should put you were fortunate enough to be one of the people that was in the room, but I don't, other people that are watching this are like, well, what are you talking about? Where are these leads coming from? let me give this some context. What we're talking about is NFM launched an influencer division a little over 30 months ago that's comprised of 14 folks that are mortgage licensed. They're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Reels, and they make these organic videos that turn into leads, which eventually turn into loans. So what I'm being asked is, what's the pull through like, and just sort of like what's the lead intake process, and how do you nurture and handle those people that aren't ready to close now? And it's a great question because the closing rate is, it doesn't even approach 2%, and over time, you'll probably stay at that number. But keep in mind, there's no advertising expense. These are people making great videos, telling experiences about the mortgages that they closed that were tough, and they're inspiring people to want to dip their toe in the water. The other thing to understand is that the people watching these videos, an awful lot of them are Gen Z. They're people that are younger. My dad's 82. He's not watching TikTok. He's not watching for mortgage stuff. But this generation is the generation of Gen Z. They're all over their phones. It's the first wave of digital natives to hit the home ownership process. And that's defined as 3 hours on their mobile phones every day. 50% of them have acknowledged through many, many surveys that their buying behavior when it comes to big financial decisions is influenced by somebody they follow that they don't even know in some cases. So, when you put it into that context, you begin to understand how these people are raising their hand earlier in the process. Meaning, when I say early in the process, earlier than what we're traditionally used to, which is the agent driving the transaction. There's already a qualified applicant on the other end of the phone, and the agent's taking them shopping, and then the agent says, "Well, you have a lender yet?" "No, I don't." "Okay, let me match you to the lender that's, hopefully that does the best job, but in too many cases, the lender that pays me to be in their office, to co-market, to do all of these things." So you see how really diluted that is, right? So in this instance, and this was kind of the headline point that I made on the panel, a lot of these people are so early on in the process that they don't even have an agent yet. And they're all raising their hands for the most part saying, "Introduce me to an agent." So yeah, you don't close loans as fast, but every one of these people is going to eventually buy a home. Maybe not everyone, but 90% of them. So we've driven in 58,000 leads, people raising their hands after seeing a video coming into the ecosystem, and then we're farming them out. The people that indicate their credit is terrible, we move them over into this nurturing campaign that's automated, so we don't have to call them at that point. They're filling things out. We use we're big fans of FinLocker and Brian View over there, and so we've white labeled an app called Home Stretch. It's kind of meeting the clients where they are, so we can kind of ascertain where they are, what they need to do to tighten up their game so they can get into their dream home, get into their first home. So that's probably a third of the population that comes in. The other third are people with really good credit that have good income that have a down payment somewhere in the $10,000 range. They're ready to go now. And then there's the third that's kind of in the middle. They just need a little nudging, little nurturing. It's a little sticky, hairy. Maybe they have a gap in employment. They're just multiple nuances. But to give you some context, we brought in 58,000 leads, and over this time frame, the division itself, which is now called the Creator Collective, used to be the Influencer division. But the influencers wanted to rebrand it. In that same time period, we've closed about 1,300 units for a little over 400 million, which I mentioned in the room. So what's the math on that? That's
gosh.
Are you good at
I'm
math?
gonna pull out my good old. I have a T84, TI-83.
Yeah, so you're talking about 2%. Like I said, close to 2%. So a little under 2%. So here's the thing. It's a mindset shift for IMBs because owners are so used to asking these questions. How quick can you close? When's my money coming in? And especially in a market like this where we're all just hanging on. The last time any of us had profits coming in on a quarter to quarter to quarter, like call it 3 quarters in a row, it's been 8 or 9 quarters probably, right? So and this is the advantage NFM has. having invested in this, when we were going through some of the tough times and not taking our eye off that ball, is that it's kind of counterintuitive to the behavior that owners have, inherently running a company. No one's running a nonprofit here. Everyone's trying to make money, and there's a lot of risk involved associated with mortgage, and so for a CEO to go, well, this is a great opportunity. Let me invest all this money into this vertical and build all these channels around it. The other thing is, when a lead comes in, it's not targeted advertising. So this is not geofencing. You're not spending any money. So you might have a loan officer who's an influencer, make a great video, and he or she may get 500 leads in a week, and 3 of them may be in the states that he or she is licensed in. So what are you going to do with all those other leads? That's another part of the equation. We've built a whole back end to be able to take them all in. Everyone's licensed up in those states, the team that takes the leads, and we get them to the table. So there's a lot involved in it. My point being that this is the future. It's inevitable, and CEOs are either going to wake up and commit to it and invest in this, knowing that the consumer behavior is changing, or they're going to get, as I said, lapped in my presentation. Companies that are focusing on it are not only going to pick up market share, but they're also going to pick up loan officers and agents, who want a piece of this action, who know they're losing market share, because you can't approach any loan officer or real estate agent out there and ask them the question, are you losing any market share to people that are branding? Talk about the ones that aren't branding. Go up to a real estate agent and say, hey, real estate agent, you're not really on social media, but do you feel the pressure to go on social media? The majority of them are going to say yes. They're either going to say yes. They'll say yes, I want to do it. No, I'm above that. I'm too old, or it's like a badge of honor or something to say I don't do that. I don't do socials. Well, as Denise Carty said in that room, who's a 30-year mortgage executive, she made the point that it's gotten to the point where social media is where organizations get validated. And so her point was, it doesn't matter what you think. If you're not on social media, people are going to make the assumption you're not good at what you do. I thought that was pretty strong.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's also something I think a lot of people don't think about from a hiring standpoint. Our content is actually the reason I joined the company. I saw a CEO that was willing to support marketing initiatives and do cool things when I came on the board of the company. And since then, we've actually seen a huge number increase in applicants when we post jobs, because people want to join an organization that's doing cool things and is doing unique things and is driving towards the future.
Absolutely. We're speaking the same language.
So as we wrap up here today, we're about to hit our time. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you our favorite question here at Lodestar, which is, a Lodestar is a guiding light in the night sky. And we want to ask, what is your either personal or professional, what do you use to guide yourself?
Do I go personal? Do I go professional?
You can do both. People have.
Well, I started a family late. So, I held out until I was 38, 53 now. So I'd have to say my kids, my family, that's my guiding light. That's kind of my purpose. Going home every day, seeing the smiles, no matter what the market looks like. I have an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old. So just, passing, making sure that I can leave a legacy for them, and then, flip this around to the mortgage side. I know you only asked me for one thing, but, for me,
you can get both.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I like to tell people at 53, having been in the business 26 years, I think I'm going to my 26th or 27th year. I kind of feel like I'm in the legacy phase of my business, of my professional career, not my business. So, meaning I want to leave a legacy now, like I want to speak up about the industry. I want to mentor people. I want to share what I know. I lived a long time in this business with that mindset that we should protect everything that we have, everything that we are, keep it from the competition. I'm the complete opposite right now. Assume that you can trust people and that they're going to treat you right, and come at people with an abundance mindset, wanting to lift people up around you, and good things are going to happen. And really, since I shifted that mindset a couple of years ago, nothing but good things have happened. So, in terms of my North Star or my shining light, it's the family on the personal side, and And then for me, it's just working hard to pave this legacy road where I can leave the business in, I don't know, however many years, and know that I left my mark.
Mhm. Yeah, I think something I've learned in my short time in the mortgage space is authenticity and genuine, and just the nature of giving is almost always returned to you. And generosity, that's the word I was looking for.
Can I pay you one more
So
compliment?
as we wrap up here, Greg, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Not only do you have the grit we touched on at the beginning, but you also ask great questions, and you were obviously very prepared for this. You had questions written down; they were all very good questions. So as somebody with a journalism background, which I have,
Mhm.
really appreciate that. Appreciate your time.
Of course. Thank you. Well, Greg, if people aren't following you, where can they find you? Where's your preferred place to connect with people?
Definitely LinkedIn. Gregory, I think I'm
Perfect.
under Gregory Share, SHER. Just put in Greg
Oh, no, you're
Share.
just under Greg.
Oh, really?
I
Yeah,
have your
I
LinkedIn right
I am
here.
yeah, that's correct. I only let my mom call me Gregory. So yeah, I'm on just as Greg.
Well,
But yeah, follow me. Connect. Let's go. Let's do this together. Let's lift each other up.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Greg, for joining me today. And thank you all for listening. And we will see you all next week.
So long.